what you need to know.
From the Goldberg Jones Sports Desk, your 620 Rip City Radio headlines. Goldberg Jones. Call 1-800-DIVORCE.
It is 6 a.m. on a Friday morning. Justin Myers with you. The Portland Trail Blazers win their second straight and 3 of their last 4 with a 103-95 victory over the Cleveland Cavaliers. Shaedon Sharpe leads the way with 29, 10, and 5 for the Blazers. Thursday night football, the Seattle Seahawks lose a nail-biter to the Dallas Cowboys and Dak Prescott, 41-35 on Prime Video. Pac-12 Championship game tonight in Vegas, 5 o'clock kickoff. Oregon now a 10-point favorite. I don't like that. Facing off against the Washington Huskies. Winner likely headed to the college football playoff. Coming up in hour number 3, John Gold from Saturday Out West will take a look back at the fall of the Pac-12 with one last Pac-12 game remaining. He'll join us in hour number 3. But the Blazers looking pretty good. Seahawks looking pretty frustrating. It was a day for Oregon State yesterday. Hour number 1 of RCM starts right now on 620 Rip City Radio.
The home of the OSAA is 620 Rip City Radio. It's time for Justin Myers to wake you up here on Rip City Mornings, 620 Rip City Radio.
And a very happy Friday. It is RCM. I am your host, Justin Myers. Super producer Brendan is safely partitioned on the other side of the glass. Thanks for getting up early with us or staying up late. However you are rolling on this particular Friday. We got a lot of stuff to dive into on the big show today. Let's start with the positives. Hey, why not? Why not start with the positives? Why not start with some good news on a feel-good Friday? Still a football Friday as far as I'm concerned. It is a fancy coffee Friday. We'll open that up in just a moment. Why not start with the good news? Hey, how about the Portland Trail Blazers? Blazers have won 3 of their last 4. They're playing good, hard-nosed basketball. The effort's there. Grabbing rebounds, defensive stops. Are there going to be some inconsistencies? Yeah. You know, we kind of joke around on this program about, like Tuesday is like grumpy old man day, and there was, of course, the famous line in Seinfeld, right, which was Tuesdays have no feel. It's like Mondays have a feel, Friday has a feel, Tuesday has no feel. The Blazers have no feel quite yet, and that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing, but I can't make heads or tails of this Blazer team. And you know what? I think this is for the best. This is for the best from a fan perspective because it's going to help us to live in the moment a little bit. It's going to help us to just ride this out game to game. But from what I have seen, without even Anthony Simons coming back, this team's going to be able to compete when they show up, when they play good defense, when they can shoot the ball, when they take care of the basketball and don't turn it over, when the offense starts moving. As Brendan loves to say, sharing the sugar, which is a timely reference. Do people ever borrow sugar from the neighbor anymore? Or is like Amazon and like DoorDash kind of ruined all of that? Did you ever have that, by the way? Good morning, Brendan. How are you? Did you ever have that as a kid? Because I did. And again, different time. It was the 80s. Grocery stores closed at 6. Mom's like making a batch of cookies, realize I don't have enough sugar. I was given a measuring spoon and sent across the street to the Shockies and said, will you ask Shirlene Shockey, who lived across the street, for a cup of sugar? And like, that was how we lived in the 80s. You guys had grocery stores that stayed up late, so you probably never did that, right?
Yeah, no, I can't say there was ever a time that we went over to the neighbors and asked for things. I think maybe there was one time like my sister had to go across the street and ask for like an egg, but that was about it.
But that was like a regular occurrence because imagine this world. Brendan, grocery store that in my town, 6:30, closed. Grocery store's closed. If they don't
That's early.
If they don't got it at 7-Eleven, like you're driving into Roseburg. Now that's town. So we don't like, and those stores close at 8. So it's like, yep, we're making up a batch of brownies. We don't have enough brown sugar. Here's the measuring cup. Justin, go across the street, ask to borrow some brown sugar. Anyways, all that being said, Blazers moving the ball well last night. Nice open looks. Playing good defense. You asked me yesterday, you said, are you kind of selling hope? Here's what I'm going to try to sell with the Blazers, is that from where we sit right now, night in, night out, they're going to be able to compete if they play well. Now, there's going to be nights where they get blown out. There's going to be nights where they look really young. There's going to be nights where they look just a disorganized mess. That's going to happen. But I don't know if this team is capable of being the worst team in the NBA, which is what we thought they might be about a week ago. About a week and a half ago, we thought they were maybe the worst team potentially in the NBA. And now we're sitting here. They're still going to be in the lottery. Still not going to make a play-in. We'll see what happens come trade deadline. But they beat the Pacers on the road. They beat the Cavs on the road. Had the Bucks. Like last 4 games, playing pretty good basketball. It's at times an aesthetically pleasing brand of basketball because I'm selfish and it's all about me. But how aesthetically pleasing is it? It's not sloppy. Malcolm Brogdon is kind of everything for this team right now. Boy, when he doesn't play and when he plays, it's a very different team. So we may dive into the Blazers a little bit more. Nice to see Shaedon go out. And again, like I said earlier with the Blazers, I need to adopt this mindset with Shaedon Sharpe, which is make observations, not conclusions. He is far too young of a basketball player to sit there and make conclusions. And I think we all fall into this trap. I am as guilty as anybody. All right, shooting percentage is down. What's the problem? Is he just not going to be able? No. He is young. He played inconsistently last year for kind of a competitive team, kind of a veteran team. Oh, everybody got hurt, shut the team down. That's a weird rookie season for a guy who didn't play college basketball and kind of was in the weirdest, oddest path to the NBA we've seen in a while. I mean,
I still think that's LaMelo going to what? Lithuania and then Australia to the NBA. But yeah, pretty
it's
close.
In the conversation, though. Canadian kid moves to Kansas and then enrolls, but then doesn't, and then goes to Arizona, kind of plays, and then moves to Kentucky to go play for the Wildcats, and is like, yeah, you're not going to be eligible till the new year. And it's like, well, by then, there's no point in you play. Weird path to the NBA. But when he's dialed in, he's a special player. He looked special at times last night, especially in the second half. Dropped in 29. But with Shaedon, I think, again, you just have to kind of make an observation night in and night out. And hopefully the inconsistencies get smaller and smaller, because that dude that played last night with that kind of confidence, you can work with that.
What about Scoot? Tough game for him last night.
There's going to be a lot of tough games for Scoot. I think, all right, let's talk this out. We're a talk show, for crying out loud. Let's talk this out. Obviously put into an unfair situation of replacing Dame. Now, he is not the same player as Dame, but sorry, they drafted you. Dame left because of that. We could sit here and do no, it wasn't exactly. No, that's what it was about. It's like, no, that's a bad analogy. I'm not going to use that one. Not gonna use that one. But there was all sorts of reasoning behind it. But for the most part, Dame left because you drafted Scoot. Now Scoot didn't ask. Scoot didn't go into the draft process going, hey, Blazers, you got the 3rd pick. I'm going to need you to draft me and trade Dame. He didn't ask for any of this, but he got put into the position. Welcome to the NBA, kid. But again, I think we have to go back to the same thing we talked about with Shaedon, which was, G League Ignite is a different path into the NBA. And ultimately, it may be a better path into the NBA. And I think from a social standpoint, which is you've already made 6 figures, maybe 7 figures. You've got an accountant. You know how to deal with money. You know how to deal with living away from home. Not in a college environment where you're in a special dorm and the athletic department takes care of everything for you. You've got an agent. You've been a professional for 2 years, right? Which Scoot Henderson, before this, he played 2 years with the Ignite, right? I think so. Like
2 years.
And he made a couple $1 million. So it's essentially like JV NBA. Here's your learning curve. Here's your NBA basic training package, which is here's a good sum of money. How are you going to handle it? Because I do think that's a huge part of being an NBA rookie, right? You go from high school basketball to college basketball, and if you don't know anything about big-time college basketball, everything's taken care of for you. Your classes, yep, they're chosen for you. Your schedule, that's chosen for you. I know with NIL, it's a little bit different now, but like your lunch, your food, all of it, your nutrition, everything is chosen by an athletic department. Then you go to the NBA, and you're like, all right, when's training? They're like, no, you buy your own food. You feed yourself. You better be on your nutrition. Money, that's a whole thing. Well, Scoot Henderson has done all the social stuff being in the G League, but kind of shut down the season last year. And in terms of like actual basketball minutes, I think it's kind of comparable to what Brandon Miller played at the University of Alabama last year. Now, it was better competition at times. So my point is, we might have gotten a little out over our skis on Scoot Henderson. Now, it's ridiculous to make any conclusions over a 19-year-old rookie point guard, and we're barely into the month of December. Remember, we're just a couple of hours into the month of December. So there's no reason to, like I said, draw any conclusions to it, but it's just Scoot's going to take time. There's going to be turnovers. There's going to be a learning curve. Growing pains are painful. But I think with the way this team kind of figured some things out, you're not leaning on him to go out and be, I mentioned the whole, ironic, they played Donovan Mitchell last night. Donovan Mitchell might have the best rookie season we've seen in what? Handful of years? Other than, what, Ja? In the last 8 years, who's had like the best rookie season? It's probably Donovan Mitchell, right?
Yeah, off the top of my head, I need to look, but yeah, probably.
Went to Utah, started right away. I mean, just having monster games, and
someone like, yeah, actually, like I think he's more recent than Mitchell, but might be the same around. Like a guy like Jason Tatum, he needed no time to hit the ground running in Boston.
And I think like Ja,
yeah,
he came in right away.
Even I think he was healthy. I think even Zion, because again, Zion's problem has not been talent. Every time he's been on the floor, he has cooked.
But then he got hurt,
right? So. Yeah, I would say that's probably the bar, is like Donovan Mitchell set the bar for like elite rookie play.
But you're not going to need him to do that. But just hopefully what you get from Scoot is, again, more minutes played, keeping him somewhat healthy, and figuring out that it seems like it's just that extra little step. That, like, you can get away with that pass one-handed through the lane in the G League. That don't fly against the Milwaukee Bucks. You know what I mean? Like, that's not going to fly against the Indiana Pacers. You can't throw that pass. So, yeah. Shaden looked good last night. I love DeAndre Ayton more and more I watch him. More and more I watch DeAndre Ayton, I love that guy. I hope I still love him by February. Hope he stays extremely gruntled by February, which I think he will. We got some football stuff to dive into. Obviously, pretty big football game coming up tonight. The transfer portal's getting nuts. The quarterback carousel has already started. Technically, And I called this, by the way. I was like, oh, we'll put parameters on the transfer portal. It's like, yeah, nobody's going to abide by those parameters. Transfer portal is still going to be wide open. And boy, is it wide open. So we'll dive into some transfer portal stuff. We'll dive into the Oregon-Washington game. We'll talk some Seahawks a little bit later. But before we do all of that, it may be raining outside. It may be dark and stormy. But you know what? There is light on the horizon. What is that light? Oh, it is a weekend, a glorious weekend, and we have made it. We have made it to the end of the work week. You have put in your time. Some of us have beaten the flu already this week. Some of us have wrote 47 articles on a website dedicated to Oregon State athletics in the craziest week of that particular entity. But we have made it. We have made it to the end of the week, and we celebrate. We celebrate with our upgraded caffeinated beverage. What am I talking about? Oh, I'm talking about fancy coffee Friday. Let's go.
You've waited all week. It's time to treat yourself for fancy coffee.
When it is properly timed, and you know. December. If you want a caramel macchiato with a little caramel drizzle thrown on that, you do you. And you know what? If you just want to roll in to the gas station convenience store and throw a little room temperature fake hazelnut creamer, if that is your fancy coffee, you know what? You do you, because you deserve it. You have earned it. Whether you have been working the phones, crushing the emails, stacking the sales, or whether you're out there grinding it out on the road, delivering all of us lazy consumers Amazon packages because we can't get up and go to the store, we need you out there. We appreciate you out there, and we salute you with a fancy coffee Friday. Here we go. Oh, yeah. It's just right. All right. Oregon-Washington playing a football game today. Quarterback carousel and the quarterback market in college football is becoming a thing. Transfer portal is wide open. We got a lot to dive into next. 620 Rip City Radio. One of my favorite Saturday Night Live sketches of all time. Of all time. So much so, I loved it so much that I used to do an imitation of it in my football locker room in high school. And it was the motivational speaker, Matt Foley, the motivational speaker by Chris Farley. It's a little before your time, Brendan, but YouTube exists. Are you familiar with the motivational speaker? A man named Matt Foley who would show up and, tell kids, like, here's the way it is. And it was Chris Farley at his absolute best. His absolute best. And I would do these motivational speeches because while I wasn't the best athlete, I was pretty good. Wasn't great. But, man, I could run my mouth. Shocker, right? I could run my mouth. And I would give motivational speeches as Matt Foley. And that was kind of my thing. And I loved that sketch so much. And the reason that sketch was hilarious is, one, Chris Farley, in his prime, maybe the greatest to ever be on Saturday Night Live. Now, we don't have time to dive into that today, but that's a hill I'd be willing to die on, is Farley in his prime, maybe the best to ever be on Saturday Night Live. But the reason why it's so funny is because most of us growing up, whether it was from our parents, mostly, though, from our school, or if maybe we got in a little bit of trouble, had to, at some point in our life, sit through a motivational speech. At some point, somebody is going to show up and try to give you a motivational speech, right? You kids think you know it all. Well, let me tell you a thing or two. You don't know jack squat. That's what he said on the thing. And all of us have probably endured assemblies in middle school of a motivational speech, and here's why you guys need to pay attention in school because you don't want to end up like this, and they never worked. Never won. Well-intended from the school to bring in the motivational speech, but I'll tell you right now, and you know it, and I know it, they never worked. Just like when it comes to movies. What's the best part? What's the best part of any football movie? It's the great speech, right? It's the great speech. Not even a football movie. It's any sports movie. Gene Hackman in Hoosiers, right? Hey, basket's 10 feet. It's 15 feet. It's a miracle, right? They may beat us 10 times out of 10. But tonight,
not
gentlemen.
this game.
Not this game. Tonight is our opportunity. That's not bad. That's not bad.
Probably the top one of all time.
You think so? You think that's better than I'm thinking of Al Pacino in Any Given Sunday? We got inches.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
I love that speech. But they're great. But they're scripted, right? They're scripted. They're not real. And if you ask anybody that's actually played real high-level football or high-level athletics, they will tell you that motivational speeches don't work. They don't work. Some people will try, and it's usually the coaches that end up getting fired. But for the most part, as a coach, you got about 2 or 3 moments where you're like, I'm going to rally the boys. You can't do it every week, right? Because if you do it every week, it's like, coach, we're playing UC Davis. Like, don't give me the firing off all cylinders, hellfire and brimstone speech right now. We're playing UC Davis. Oregon, hey, I'm pretty sure the speech that Dan Lanning gave against Colorado is not the same speech he gave when they played Portland State. And you know what I mean? It's like you got to pick and choose your moments. Now, why am I bringing up all of this? Because I don't like this 10-point spread in this game tonight. And I'll tell you what, if there was ever a thing for Kalen DeBoer and that coaching staff up in Seattle to hammer home in terms of motivational speeches all week long, it would be this point spread. If I was Kalen DeBoer, I'd have that point spread sitting up in the locker room. Hey, guys, this is what Vegas thinks. We're going to Vegas. This is what Vegas thinks. Oh, started at 7.5. I would make it a running thing. You know how like they have like the countdown to kickoff? It's like, no, point spread. Oh, it's 8 now. It's 8.5. Is it 10? I don't like it. I don't like it at all because I believe this, and again, it's not Vegas's fault. They're just trying to make their money. They're just going with the betting community. I'm shocked. I'm shocked that we don't see, like, now that the number has crept to 10, and again, I have an elementary understanding of betting, but when the number gets a little bit inflated, it's almost, I'm surprised that you haven't seen some big money people kind of go the opposite way. You get Washington minus 10. That's a lot of points. That's a lot of points in a game where it was a 3-point game and Washington won last time. And they are undefeated. And they're the number 3 team in the country. It's a lot of points. But back from a motivational standpoint, I don't like that essentially Vegas and the betting line and kind of all of college football, I haven't seen one significant college football analyst, and I follow them all on the X, and I watch the podcasts, and I watch the shows. Everybody picking these games, I haven't seen one person pick Washington in this game. Haven't seen one. Don't know, like, anybody, like, when they're going over scenarios, and we're guilty, but our show is firmly planted here in the great state of Oregon, and I'm a Duck homer. But every scenario, when they're talking about, oh, what about the college football playoff? They're all like, well, Oregon wins the Pac-12. Are they like, and all Kalen DeBoer is doing up there in Seattle is just feeding nobody. How on earth does an undefeated number 3 team in the country actually have the nobody believes you can win? I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. Because while motivational speeches in middle school with weirdos who travel around to tell you about how you need to be careful with your physical activity, if you know what I'm saying, well, they don't work. You know what does work? Underdog mentality. Underdog mentality does work. Now, again, it's like the pump up speech. You can't, and like the chew out. Like, you can't chew out a guy every single day. You chew out a guy every single day, they're just going to tune you out. You can't give the pump up speech every single day because it's like, all right, we've heard this one before. You gave us the same speech when we were playing Portland State and Hawaii, or for Washington, right, when we were playing Boise, right? You gave us the same speech. Can't do it. But this week, looking at that point spread, looking at what friend of the program Josh Pate said, what all the guys on the panel of college football on ESPN have said, nobody is picking Washington to win this game. That scares the daylights out of me. I don't like it. I have no feel going into this game. Is Michael Penix hurt? Did Washington get up for Oregon, but since then haven't blown anybody out? Has Oregon been playing with fool's gold? Because since then, Oregon has not played a game where their opponent has a chance to win in the fourth quarter, including USC. Never had a chance to tie or take the lead. Is that because Oregon is that dominant, or is it a bit fool's gold? Because other than Oregon State, the only team that they have beaten that has been ranked is what? Utah? I don't think Utah's even ranked anymore. So they got one ranked win, and that's Oregon State, who sits at 20. I am so concerned going into this game. I was very comfortable earlier in the week, like, oh, I can't wait till Friday. Friday is here, and I'm like, oh boy. Because I've seen so many times where you go like, all right, heck, let's go back to last year. Because last year, I think it's fair to say, USC, who were 10 and No, they were. What were they going into that game last? They were 11-1, right? They were 11-1 last year going into the Pac-12 Championship game. Now they took that loss to Utah on the road, but it's like here they go. They can avenge their loss against Utah. They can get that win in Vegas. Caleb Williams is going to win the Heisman, which he did, and they're going to go to the college football playoff. Lincoln Riley has done it. He has done it in 1 year. USC, fight on to victory. We're back. Oops. Utah came up and put a beating on him. Put an absolute beating on him. Caleb Williams painted his fingernails with F -- Utah. And Utah just punched him right in the mouth. I go back to 2019. Oregon, good team in 2019, but everybody kind of had Utah. I very much remember in 2019 I was hosting The Bridge. It was a good show. It's a good show. But I was hosting The Bridge, and I think it was Mike Yam. Mike Yam, great football guy for the now soon to be gone Pac-12 network. But I think he's on NFL Network now. But I remember 2019, like, hey, when you look at this conference, he was like, hey, write it in Sharpie. Utah's winning the conference. And Utah was pretty good in 2019. As a matter of fact, Utah was going into that game against Oregon in the Pac-12 championship game with everything on the line. And Oregon was coming off of a loss to Arizona State a couple of weeks before that have crushed their college football playoff dreams. And Justin Herbert and the Ducks go into Vegas, and they crush the dreams of Utah. Normally, you would think all of the pressure in this game would be on the 12-0, undefeated, number 3 ranked team, right? And you would think, well, clearly the opponent has nothing to lose. Brendan, how do the Huskies pull off being number 3 in the country, being 12-0, and somehow being the underdog with nothing to lose? How did this happen? How did they pull this off? Or am I looking at this a little bit weird? 10 points is a lot. That's nuts. Where does the slaughtergambling.net line put this game at?
As you know, the sports book is active this morning. I'm just kidding. I like Oregon in this game, but I think it's close to like a 3-point game. 3 points. I think it's going to be exactly like the first game, and it's going to come down to who has the ball last. I don't even know if I would put money on either team because I'm not that confident, but it will come down.
I wouldn't touch this game with a 10-foot pole.
It will come down to who has the ball last, I think, and who can be more special. Like, I have a great understanding of these two teams because these two teams beat my team. I watched them with my own eyes these last 2 weeks.
Back to back.
I'm curious to know which quarterback can make more special plays. There were several times against Washington where I sit there and I go, Oregon State, they got Penix, and he throws the craziest ball that you're like, how did he complete that? There were a couple times this last week when Oregon State got after Bo. Bo scored in 40 seconds. So, yeah, and that's how Friday started. I mean, it's like that old meme, Justin, how it started for Oregon State, how it's going. And it's like, let's do how it started, like a turkey dinner Thursday versus now. But no, I like Oregon, but man, it's a pick'em for me almost. I'd say 3 points right now, but it could come down to a pick'em by game time, Justin.
Well, and this is the thing, though, I'm wondering about Penix, right? Because I'm looking, like, game log for Michael Penix. I had it, and then I lost it. Here we go. So if you go game log for Michael Penix, now he put it on Oregon. He was 22 of 37 for 300 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 pick. That's a pretty good day against, at the time, the number 8 team in the country. Since then, he has thrown for 275, lit it up against Stanford. But 275, no touchdowns, 2 picks against Arizona State. 256 against Utah, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. 332 had a pretty good day against Utah, 2 touchdowns, no picks. 162 against your Beavs in a driving rainstorm, and actually it made the plays you needed to make.
More of a driving rainstorm than this morning? Curious. It seems to be pretty apropos. Like,
You were there. I don't know. You were at both. I wasn't there in Corvallis.
Yeah, no, it still was wetter. It was. But the wind today was worse, Justin.
But a buck 62 against Oregon State in a rainstorm. And then 204 yards against Washington State. 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. So other than that Stanford game, and you could maybe say a bit of the Utah game, he hasn't had, because the games before that, 450 against Boise, 409 against Tulsa, 473 against Michigan State, 463 against Arizona. Arizona's pretty good. Then that Oregon game happened, and he has had 2 games over 300 yards, but has had a 204-yard performance, a 162. So the Penix thing is fascinating to me. Because while you look at the numbers, you go, did something change? Did he tighten up? Has he been dealing with an injury? What's going on there? Have defenses maybe figured some things out? Or is it just he's really good at playing against Oregon? I don't know. But it is fascinating to me that you have got a team in Washington that is 12-0, number 3 in the country. And they're kind of the underdog? Maybe, again, this might be the algorithms messing with me, because obviously Twitter knows where my bread is buttered, right? And they're like, hey, if you like you'll like this and you'll like this. I was like, no, give me some like Washington pump up so I can try to sell it to myself. Yeah, I think it's going to be a close game. I really do. The other thing that is I think, undiscussed. Is that a thing? I just made it up. This game inside. Right? This is a game inside.
Very nice stadium, by the way.
I look forward to seeing it this summer. Just going to watch a concert, not a game, but
not as nice as SoFi, but still pretty nice.
SoFi, I would like to watch a football game there. Concert, not so great. Football game, probably awesome. Anyways, I'm looking at this. This is the first indoor game for both of these guys, for both of these teams. I think a slight favorite to Washington because of their wide receivers. But Troy Franklin is, I think, every bit as good as Roma Dunze. Again, I'm biased, but I think the margin for the difference between those two guys is so slim. But who do you think the indoor thing, does that help Washington? Fast track?
I think it'll,
because they love to air it out.
Yeah, I don't think it makes a huge difference for either team. I mean, even if it was outdoors, it'd be really cold in Vegas. Believe me, I know that too. It can be pretty crazy in Vegas in December,
and windy.
Yes.
Didn't your Beavs play in a windstorm one time?
66 miles an hour. I was there.
Was that Pitt?
BYU. Watched a 27-year-old quarterback crush us. So, and that's what I asked my dad. I'm like, Dad, how is he that good and that? Well, son, he went on a mission for 3 years and then came back to play football.
But don't worry. There's going to be a thing called COVID that happens, and all quarterbacks are going to be like 25 moving forward, which we're going to talk about. Watch this professional transition, because now another quarterback has entered the portal. Young, old, and everything in between. The quarterback carousel continues to move on. We'll talk about that next. 620 Rip City Radio. Last night. Take them when you can get them. Playing pretty good basketball. Won 3 out of their last 4. Team is not playing well, Seattle Seahawks. They got blown out by the 49ers on Thanksgiving, and then a week later on Thursday Night Football, gave away a game in Dallas. There's no other way around it. Yeah, an 8-point lead and the ball in the fourth quarter, driving. Got to put that one away. And it might spell some trouble for the Seahawks, who now are sitting at, 6-6. By the way, everybody on YouTube can see me squinting to see the small print on the computer. Look, I got 20/20 vision, okay? These steely blue eyes can see just fine. The computer screen's a little squinty. That being said, I probably don't have exactly 20/20, but Seahawks now sitting at 6-6, so we'll dive into Thursday Night Football. But it was a bit of a day for Oregon State yesterday. It's been a week. It's been a bit of a week. And I'm not sure yesterday helped matters much. So we debate and discuss on campus right now. Here we go. All right, let me see if I can get this straight. Oregon State football for the last 7 days. Brendan, help me out if I'm missing anything here. It's good to take inventory and talk it out, though.
Is it?
That's what we're going to find out because we have a talk show. All right. A week ago, they walked into Austin Stadium, got their bells rung. Actually, I take it back. A week ago, allegedly, according to some, Jonathan Smith told his team.
I've all but confirmed it.
That's not what the AD said, so I'm being judicious. My behind ain't going to get, even though I have legal representation, my behind ain't going to get sued.
Come at me.
But according to some, before the game against Oregon, Jonathan Smith told the team, hey, there's an opportunity out there. I'm being open and honest with you guys. Maybe headed to Michigan State. Maybe potentially affected the play on the field. Regardless, they went into Autzen, caught a buzzsaw, which is Oregon football, playing as well as anybody in the country. Gives them 2 losses in a row. And again, a loss to Oregon in the final Civil War. It's a tough way to end Thanksgiving weekend. So that was Friday. Saturday morning, Oregon State fans wake up. They start seeing some rumblings. On the X app, team meeting is being called. Jonathan Smith takes a job with Michigan State, and he takes a handful of assistants with him on the plane. No decision, though, as to whether or not they're going to be on the staff. Yeah, they went on the plane with you, bro. They're going to be on the staff. So Jonathan Smith's now gone. Nationwide search, right? And then essentially by Tuesday, Brendan, you had this by Monday. We talked about it on Monday that Trent Bray became the leading candidate. And by Wednesday, it was a done deal. Trent Bray was named head coach of Oregon State. All right. We have patched a hole in the boat. Let's hunker down, everybody. Well, then the news popped in yesterday, which is DJU is heading to the transfer portal. He gave you the goodbye letter. He gave you the breakup letter on which I hate. I hate those goodbye letters. So DJU is now transferring. Now earlier, Damian Martinez said Orange Heart lock on social media after Trent Bray was named the head coach. I interpret that as I ain't bleeping leaving, Jordan Belfort style. He also maybe went Jordan Belfort style with the driving car under the influence because Damian Martinez was then arrested for DUI, which is a serious incident. He's now suspended for the bowl game. Do I have it all? Shut up, Siri. Do I have it all, Brendan?
Oh, add in Anthony Gould declaring for the draft yesterday.
Anthony Gould, we kind of saw that one coming, though. But either way, of all the days.
I mean, fielding a staff, press conferences, talking with interim coaches. I mean, it's insane. This has been the most insane week in my entire life.
And it sounds
State
like
football.
2024 schedule might drop today. Did I see that?
Why not? Why not?
So it's been a bit of a all right. This is the tough part about the kind of rent a quarterback situation that we are in college football. Whereas there is no more loyalty, right? DJU came in. He was a hired gun. Can't be upset when the hired gun goes to look to be hired elsewhere, especially after the coach leaves, conference situation and everything else. I would imagine, though, Oregon State fans could do without the once a Beaver, always a Beaver. Like, dude, you were here for like 9 months. Like, could do without
Save me on that.
Could do without the, I'll always appreciate that. Got it. You were a hired gun. You resurrected your career, gave us 9 wins. Let's not make too much about this, all right? Let's not bring love letters into this. This was an arranged marriage at best. But the quarterback carousel keeps moving. We may talk about that coming up in hour number 2. We'll talk about the Seahawks. We'll talk about the Blazers. Obviously, the Pac-12 Championship. Other championship games this weekend. Jam-packed hour number 2 next. 620 Rip City Radio.
sports you need to know. From the Goldberg Jones Sports Desk, your 620 Rip City Radio headlines. Goldberg Jones. Call 1-800-DIVORCE.
It is 7 a.m. on a Friday morning. Justin Myers with you. Blazers win. They take their second straight 3 out of their last 4 with a 103-95 victory over the Cleveland Cavaliers last night. Shaden Sharp led the way. 29 points, 10 boards, 5 assists. Thursday night football, Seattle Seahawks lose a nail-biter to the Dallas Cowboys. Dak and company get a 41-35 victory on Prime Video. Seahawks now fall to 500, sit at 6-6. 5 o'clock kickoff time in beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada, as the Pac-12 Championship will be crowned. Oregon, a 10-point favorite right now against the Washington Huskies. Winner likely headed to the college football playoff. How likely? Well, for Washington, it's 100%. For Oregon, who knows? We'll talk to John Gold from Saturdays Out West in hour number 3. But the big 3 in hour number 2, it starts right now on 620 Rip City Radio.
The home of the OSAA is 620 Rip City Radio. It's RCM with Justin Myers, right here on your home of the Portland Trailblazers, 620 Rip City Radio.
All right, 20 minutes from now, we have Make or Miss. 40 minutes from now, it is a Hot Take Friday. We're now officially in the month of December. The hustle and bustle has begun. And interesting conversation that Brendan and I had during the break. We'll take you a little bit behind the scenes because while we are in different rooms, we communicate via the microphone, but we have the same TV channel on. And out of nowhere, Brendan's like, hey, what a deal. Grand Slam breakfasts are $5.99. And it brought up some memories. So I'm curious for you what it was. I don't know why, for me, it's always surrounding food. There are certain things where it's just like, for a young child stepping into manhood. And for me, one of the biggest jumps in my life, because my family took a lot of road trips. Parents were teachers, summers off. We had the station wagon where the cars, the back row faced the opposite direction. We had it. And I was always in the back.
Those didn't have seatbelts, did they?
They had seatbelts,
okay,
but it was not a shoulder strap, though.
Lap belts.
Lap, that's it. Lap belt.
Were they optional in the Myers
They were not
household,
optional,
or were they
no.
still put on?
Mom, very safety conscious.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. Seatbelts on. I need to hear them click.
Man, what it must have been like, Justin, and I'm sorry to distract your story, which we have to go to, but what it must have been like in like the 19 whatever it was, 20s, 30s, I need to look, when they told you had to wear a seatbelt.
There's a video on YouTube. There's a video on YouTube of in like the 70s in Texas where they finally passed a law that it's an open container rule where like you can't literally drink and drive at the same time. And like people in the 70s in Texas are like, well, if you just can't crack a beer on your way home after a hard day's work, I don't even know what this country's becoming. And it's like, whoa, look back. Yeah, I would imagine.
Just think about what it was like when like, I'm sure people got pulled over and they're like, oh, here's a ticket for not wearing a seatbelt. They're like, I've never worn one in 60 years. Like, you know what I mean? Kind of a thing.
I think we may have experienced what it might have been like with
I agree. I wasn't going to go there.
Certain safety protocols in our recent past.
I wasn't going to go there.
We definitely don't need to dive into that. But, yeah, it was not optional. But we would take a lot of road trips as a family. And those road trips there were two consistents. Constants? Anyways. Two things consistent. We would stay at Motel 6. Back in the 80s, it was a nice, affordable place to stay. They'll leave the light on for you. You heard that commercial everywhere. I'm Tom Bodette from Motel 6, and we'll leave the light on for you. So we would stay at Motel 6 because they were everywhere. And next to every Motel 6 was a Denny's. Every single Motel 6, for my memory, there was a Denny's right next. Now, I am one of three. I am the oldest. Are you watching that video of the open container thing?
No, I just went back to look. So Tom Baudette's been doing that voice, Justin, since 1986 and still going strong.
Yeah.
Good for him, man.
I'm Tom Baudette from Motel 6, and he would leave the light on for you, and we would stay at a Motel 6, and then we would get up early, and then we would get Denny's for breakfast, because there was a Denny's right next door, and then on the road for like hours. And Brendan, there was a time where you'd walk into a Denny's, and they would always ask. There was two questions you would get asked if you walked into a Denny's as a family. First one, kind of nuts now, but smoking or none? That was a real thing. Again, you want to talk about how, like, boy, we thought we were doing things crazy. It's like, this booth, that's non-smoking. These booths, smoking. You can't tell the difference, even though it's a wide open room and half the room is smoking. So you'd walk into a Denny's, smoking or non? And I was like, all right, non-smoking, please. How many kids menus? And obviously there were 3 kids. And like, there are 3. The day I got to order not the kids' Grand Slam breakfast off of the kids' menu. No. Which I believe is called the Junior Slam, I believe is what it was called. But the day I got the real menu, not the coloring book with the mazes and the word jumble and the Junior Slam. No. The day I got the regular menu, and it was like, yep, I shall have the regular Grand Slam breakfast, because some kids, it's like when you get your, you get your own room, or you get your own TV. Some, it's your driver's license. Rite of passage for your boy was when that kid's menu was put away, and I got the real menu, and I could order the Grand Slam breakfast. Also, the day you don't get Happy Meals at McDonald's anymore, that was a pretty big deal as well. Do you have those two stick in my memory. I very much remember when I got to order a number 2, because it was the 2 cheeseburgers, and it was like,
it's funny you say that, because
like that, like I don't do Happy Meals anymore.
Yeah,
done.
Like within the last, oh gosh, I don't know, like, yeah, like there's no rules with that, Justin. Like in the last year and a half, I'm pretty sure I pulled through McDonald's and gotten a Happy Meal because it was the exact amount of food that I wanted at that particular moment.
Well, and I mean, you get a toy on top of it.
I guess.
But do you remember, like, when you were a kid you would get the Happy Meal, like your parents would just, well, I don't know what you would do, but my parents, they just order for you.
Yeah,
because again, we don't got time to let the kids be it was a different time in the 90s, right? There was no like, all right, Johnny, tell him what you want. It was like, no, he's having this, he's having that, or having this. This is the order. We shall go sit down now.
Yeah, no, there are a couple things that stand out. One is just like in general, like going from like you said, I don't know if I can think of anywhere specific, but like just going from like the kids' meal at like Olive Garden, for instance, to like the adult. But like
that's such a day.
This won't surprise you, Justin. And you're probably gonna say, all I need to know, Brendan, and go on to the big 3.
Probably.
Justin, you know what I was most excited for? When they would not give me the kids' soda cup, but the adult soda cup.
With refills.
Yep, and I didn't have to have that little, quoting Will Smith here from Men in Black, the little midget cricket soda cup that had like 2 gulps in it before it's like, oh, I need a refill. No, it was great when I could get the adult soda.
Give me the big dog. All right.
And got to say, Justin, because you mentioned it, for those who are listening at home and maybe a little younger, maybe just think, oh, that's a cool name for a motel. Why was it called Motel 6?
It was $6 a night when it first opened up. That was why.
Just going to leave it at that.
It was $6 a night. Now
only in 62, too, which is crazy.
That was 1962 when it opened up?
Yep.
Yeah, now we were there in the 80s. It was more than $6, but it wasn't more than 20, I don't think.
It's so cheap. I love it.
But it was not
like bad.
No.
Yeah.
Tom Baudette left the light on for you at Motel 6, right? Everybody stayed at the Motel 6. Some of them had a pool, some didn't.
Was it like a step up then when you stayed at a Super 8 because it was a couple dollars more?
Hot take. I think Motel 6 was a little bit higher than Super 8, if I'm just going to say so myself.
All right, Justin.
Yeah. I
Give
think
Motel 6 and Tom Bodett the credit.
I think I was a Motel 6 guy, and I think I stick with the 6. Super 8? No. Try again. Man, we stayed at a lot of Motel 6s. All right. Let's get to the big 3. will likely be a team in the college football playoff. And I know there's a whole basketball season to be played, and softball and track and baseball and all that. But Pac-12, as we know it from a football perspective, kind of gets wrapped up. Klavkov's going to be there to hand out the trophy. He's been in seclusion in Montana. What's Klavkov going to look like? Is he going to look like Letterman with like the big beard? Is just like, yeah, I've been. Because it was
We need some.
it was August, right? August when the Pac-12 essentially fell apart.
Yeah, we need Oregon State and Washington fans to pull a page out of Philly's book, sneak in, and then throw garbage at him like they did Ben Simmons.
Boy, it's gonna be tough though. It'd be tough to sneak into. Do you think you could sneak into a stadium?
No, but I guarantee you, Justin, there is at least one Oregon State or Cougar fan who is going to this game. 100%. You'll very much to how in the middle of Reser Stadium, in the middle of September or October, it's like, oh yeah, there's that dude that showed up with the Duck jersey. You'd be surprised.
I'm curious to see the response. Like if he gets the, like at the draft when Roger Goodell comes out and everybody just boos him because he's the principal, and it's like we get to finally boo the principal. Does Klavkov get booed tonight?
I mean, considering that he was the reason the Pac-12 exploded, I wish I could boo. I think so.
Be throwing stuff at your TV tonight, maybe?
No, I like my TV too much.
Right.
But yes.
Maybe throw stuff near your TV?
Yeah, perhaps. I mean, honestly, Justin, let's just I'm hoping for a good game, but yeah, if I see him, it's
well, he's going to hand out the trophy.
Yeah, disgusting.
All right, so we'll talk to John Gold coming up in about an hour from now. It is a Hot Take Friday. We are now in the month of December. The hustle and bustle. It's upon us. So I've got some Christmas season-ish hot takes to throw out as well. But it's time for Make or Miss. Here we go.
It bounces off the crossbar, and it's good!
It's not you can figure out the rest.
Yeah, that's
Just
pretty
call the
good.
bowling alley. Like,
That's
hey,
pretty
dude,
good. I'll give you that one.
you guys have 15-pound balls?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
And we thought it was hilarious.
That's pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. That's some quality '90s humor right there, baby.
Shout out to Cedar Bowl.
Yeah, there it is.
Or Cedar Lanes. Cedar Lanes.
There you go. Gotta get it right.
Then there was another bowling alley, but I'm pretty sure that not a insensitive name, but a
Sure.
name we don't use anymore.
Yeah, I can honestly say, Justin, because I had some a
Shout out to Cedar Lanes.
Yeah.
Sorry about the prank calls.
I had a
We
gra-
thought we were hilarious.
Yeah, whenever it's crazy, but yeah, growing up, I'm curious if you are familiar. Spent a lot of time at Furs Bowl in Eugene. I don't know if you've ever been familiar with that.
No.
Yeah. Growing up, we'd go down and see Grandma and Grandpa in Eugene, and Furs, like the tall furs, like FI, Furs Bowl, and the bowling alley is something that's kind of gone away, and now you have bowling alleys and things like family fun centers, but the true bowling alleys that are still out there, shout out, because they're a bit of a dying breed. Also, Justin, feel like I should add, we kicked off this segment before we talked about Maverick Carter, talked about Rich Paul. Do you know he and Adele are married now?
Hey, way to go. Happy
Married.
for them.
Married,
Good
man.
for the happy couple.
Yeah, good for them, man. Didn't see that. Very quietly got
By
married.
the way, what happened to Adele? Just
Shut it down, maybe?
like, I'm not sad anymore. I don't need to make all the sad songs.
You're
and
saying
so
Rich,
it was just
Rich
like,
Paul made her happy?
yeah, like I made Those at Hot Takes. Some people like to get up on their soapbox, up on their high horse, up in their ivory tower, and say, "Oh, look at you! You're just a hot take artist. It's just a bunch of hot takes." Well, you know what? Hot Takes built this industry, and Hot Takes will carry this industry on into the future in any particular device that we consume audio content. So we don't look down our nose on this program. No. We embrace it because we say hot takes today, hot takes yesterday, hot takes forever. About important stuff? No. About silly stuff? 100%. And we save some of our spiciest takes for this particular segment we call, very cleverly, Hot Take Friday. All right, it is now December 1st. Throughout this month, I will be throwing out a series of holiday-themed, Christmas-themed hot takes. And I start with this one because I got a Christmas party coming up tomorrow. We got our office Christmas party coming up next week. There's going to be gatherings all around, and some of these gatherings have a theme, and one theme has got to go. Hot take, ugly Christmas sweaters are done. They are done. We need to end the ugly Christmas sweater party. They have jumped the shark. They are not what they used to be. They have become much like Valentine's Day became big Hallmark. Ugly Christmas sweaters are just manufacturers who are creating novelty T-shirts. That's all they are. They put a little design in there. They put a clever saying on there. And all of a sudden, we gobble them up. The ugly Christmas sweater was supposed to be the one that your mom wore in the 80s and the 90s that had, like, Rudolph with a rhinestone red nose on it and actual bells on the sweater, not Google clever topical ugly Christmas sweaters. No. That's silly. Ugly Christmas sweaters have jumped the shark. And I feel like they are not even overrated. We need to be done with them. It was a fun run. It was good for a while. The ugly Christmas sweater was a decent run. We need to end it now. Let's get back to some class, right? Just like The Office. Let's have a classy Christmas. You know, when, what's her name?
Holly.
Holly comes to visit.
Back.
Thank you.
He's got to get the nice Santa hat. They go, he pulls out all of his shoe money to repay for the party.
Exactly.
Yep.
Let's have a classy there may be some people at this station that might be listening because that is one of the themes of our Christmas party that's coming up next week. But do you see what I'm saying, though? Like, if you have an actual ugly Christmas sweater, I think that's great. That's great. These newfangled contraptions, these are just novelty T-shirts. That's all they are. You might as well just have a novelty T-shirt party because that's all they are. I'm done with the ugly Christmas sweaters. And I have 3 of them in my closet that I will pull out on a moment's notice.
Yeah.
But I'm done. I'm done with the ugly Christmas sweaters, Brendan.
Yeah.
It needs to be said. We need to get back to basics with the ugly Christmas sweaters.
No disagreements here.
Yeah.
Justin, I'm sticking with the holiday hot takes on this one. Candy canes are terrible.
They are so bad.
They suck.
They're no good.
I could go my whole life without ever seeing one or wanting to eat one again. They are they are almost worse than candy corn at Halloween. Candy corn at Halloween. Yeah, sorry. It's been a long week, Justin. Sorry, end of a long week. Your boy is running on fumes, as they say.
I understand the whole history of candy canes, and I understand that and I'm also a man of tradition. But I think you're 100% accurate. Went to get the Christmas tree before the flu knocked me on my keister. So on Sunday, went out, beautiful Christmas tree farm. Beautiful Christmas. The whole thing. Got the garland, got the wreath, cut. They didn't allow power tools, so I hand sawed it.
How long did that take you?
What?
To saw down your tree?
30 seconds.
Okay.
No big deal, Brendan. I work out. Also, it's like, it's a little 7-footer, right? I wasn't going down and cutting down a redwood, right? But no power tools allowed. So cut it down, and they got a big fire pit out there. Beautiful Christmas tree farm. And then you buy the Christmas tree, and they give you a candy cane. And it's like, hey, you like your candy cane? It's like, no. Because I know that candy cane's going to go right in my truck, and it's going to sit there for a year.
At least it could
for
be
a
like
year.
I mean, at least it could be like an emergency food for you if you ever get trapped in your car, Justin. Be like, there's the candy cane that's in the glove box that's a year old.
I'm pretty sure I did have a candy cane all the way to like October from like last year. But you're right, the candy canes they're so overrated.
But I said that it'd be fair. I know I'm coming at you guys saying that I like my artificial trees and I don't like candy canes. So there might be a little grinchiness coming in over here, Justin.
The tree thing I can't get behind, but that's okay. You do you. But the candy cane thing, you're not wrong.
I brought my sister and brother-in-law onto the team, Justin. They've got a fake tree too. Yeah.
What is going on?
I'm starting it, man. It grows.
What's going on? Not only do we have a real tree, but wife went and got like real garland. So like we have greenery throughout our house.
Oh, that is that's
actual greenery in our house.
Day and night from the Brendan household.
There's no plastic greenery. It is literally falling apart. But you know what? It is beautiful. All right. We've got hour number 3 next. John Gold's going to join us from Saturday Out West. Blazers get a nice win, playing pretty good basketball. And we got the RCM mailbag. Jam-packed hour number 3 next, 620 Rip City Radio.
news you need to know. From the Goldberg Jones Sports Desk, your 620 Rip City Radio headlines. Goldberg Jones. Call 1-800-DIVORCE.
It is 8 a.m. on a Friday morning. Justin Myers with you. Portland Trail Blazers win last night. They get their second straight. 3 out of their last 4. That is a 103-95 victory over the Cleveland Cavaliers. Shaedon Sharpe leads the way for the Blazers. 29 points, 10 boards, 5 assists for the second-year budding superstar. Seattle Seahawks lose a nail-biter to the Dallas Cowboys. And Dak Prescott, 41-35 Thursday night football. And the Pac-12 Championship is kicking off at 5 o'clock later on this evening from fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. Oregon, Washington. Winner likely headed to the college football playoff. Cut and dry for Washington. Not so simple for Oregon. We'll talk to John Gold from Saturday Out West coming up in about 20 minutes. We've got the RCM mailbag. Seahawks sitting at 6-6. Blazers figuring some things out, and it has been a week for the Beavs. Hour number 3 starts right now on 620 Rip City Radio.
The home of the OSAA is 620 Rip City Radio. The most transparent show in Portland is Rip City Mornings with Justin Myers. Here on 620 Rip City Radio.
Apparently, friend of the program, co-worker of ours, man who filled in as I was on death's door on both Tuesday and Wednesday. Brendan, I don't know if you saw, but our good buddy, Chris Burkhart, he's apparently a huge fan of both ugly Christmas sweaters and candy canes. Didn't realize I was hitting so close to home. And there may be apparently an ugly Christmas sweater coming into the studio and a bunch of candy canes. He can have all the candy canes. Now, hey, if that's your thing, go for it. Have all the candy canes. But, yeah. So good morning to our good friend Burkhart, who was doing the fifth quarter last night. But ugly Christmas sweater guy and a candy cane guy. I don't know. I think we're on the right side of history on this one. I really do. Sorry, your candy canes are overrated. They just are. I will say, though, like, candy canes, here's the problem with candy canes. The bigger they get, which any candy as a kid growing up, the more of it is usually the better, right? Hey, fun size Snickers, regular Snickers, king size. Which one's the best? The king size, thank you very much. Candy canes? Like the little ones? You know what I'm talking about, Brendan? The tiny little ones that are almost like a breath mint? Those are fine. The bigger the candy cane gets, though, like the worse they are. Just, there's no need for them. But all that being said, we're going to talk to John Gold, Anthony Gould. He's going to the NFL. John Gold is going to be on the show. He writes for Saturday Out West.
See, I did that all season. You just did it for the first time.
I'm not going to throw any blame out there.
It is my fault. Wholeheartedly, it's my fault. I'll take the L and wear it when it's necessary, Justin.
Yeah.
It's just unfortunate that Gold and Gould are just two names that are very much in my brain this football season.
And I like John Gold. He's been fantastic.
He's great.
He's been fantastic on the show. I'm glad we did it this segment and not next segment.
I know.
Really happy about that. You ever called somebody the wrong name?
Yes, embarrassingly enough. Like, I've called somebody the wrong first name that I haven't, like
in a professional setting? Like, have you? I am terrible with names.
Not in a professional setting. Like it. Trying to walk the line here. So, like, I'm pretty sure that, like, because, I've been going to trivia for a while. We see a lot of new names and new faces, people that come in and out each week. I'm pretty sure, like, about a year ago, I, like, called somebody at our table the wrong name and, like, didn't realize it till after I said it. I'm like, oh, that's why he didn't respond to me. I called him the wrong name. Professionally, I can't remember who it was. It was kind of interesting to, just by force of habit, hear someone at Trent Bray's press conference go, Trent, that kind of thing from force of habit of always saying Jonathan. But no, thankfully I haven't gone into like a radio setting and called someone the wrong name. I've never been in a presser, been like, hey, so-and-so. So thankfully I haven't had that happen to me, Justin.
I'm trying to remember. Because I am absolutely terrible with names. Like, I don't know what it is.
I'm not great with pronunciation. You can get me there. I have absolutely whiffed on some pronunciations of last names, embarrassingly on camera. But yeah, not necessarily like just trying to get things right.
But
speaking of which, you could tell, Justin. Sorry, last thing. Just mention this real quick. You can tell that legendary voice of the Oregon Ducks, Don Essig, did not call Mateo Uiagalelei's name a whole lot this season because, shout out Don Essig, Oregon State alum, a Beaver.
Yeah, rally team member.
There were a couple times it was Uiagalelei. Like, it's not a ukulele, Mr. Don Essig. But you could tell, he didn't call Mateo's name a whole lot this year.
Let me say this. I love Don Essig. Don Essig, one of the nicest men I've ever been around.
No criticism in this.
Used to call into the show, like unprompted when I was in Eugene. Would call into the show, and he talked exactly like he sounds over the Justin, how are you doing? Don Essig here. I love Don Essig. He is the voice of my childhood. Him and Jerry Allen, right? That's the voice of my childhood because Jerry Allen would be on the radio broadcast, and Don Essig, your stadium announcer. Me, my buddy Aaron, we do a mean Don Essig. And, like, he was, for a long, long time, very good. Polynesian players playing in the Pacific Northwest is nothing new. It is nothing new.
Oregon, Haole Nagata, right?
The Malapei brothers.
That's a tough one.
Predate, like, Tassi Malapei, like, and Don Essig was dialed in. Also, I don't know if you remember this player. At Utah, not Star Lotulelei, who was very, very good at Utah.
Remember
but
him.
I don't believe he ever played at Oregon. But Utah was in a non-conference game. They had a running back, played a little bit for the Steelers. His name was Chris Fuamatu Ma'alafala. I will never forget that name until I get dementia. His name was Chris Fuamatu Ma'alafala. And they played a non-conference game against Oregon, and he was the running back. All right, it's not like he's the defensive end. Brendan, he was the running back. And I would imagine if you're the stadium announcer, other than the quarterback, the running back's name is who you say the most. And Don Essig that day was, like, ready for it. Chris Fuamatu Ma'alafala on the carry. Like, he was ready. Uiagalelei got to him last week.
Like, he started off strong, and then there was a moment when and again.
It was late at night.
Yeah, No, he was late at night. By that point, he probably heard that Jonathan Smith was leaving too. So, I mean, it was just an absolute disaster.
You can't just keep blaming that on everything.
Oh, pretty much.
Concession lines were long. They probably heard Jonathan Smith was leaving.
I mean, again, at least Oregon had the soda machine working. So that is helpful. But no, I think
Don Essig was nails on the. But, like, yeah. Uiagalelei got him.
Yeah, it was nuts because I looked over at, because he nailed it like the first 3-4 times, right? Uiagalelei to, Silas Bolden for the touchdown. Oregon State's only score. And then it was like sometime in the third quarter, it was a bit of a butcher. And I looked over at my colleague and I'm like, he said it right, like all game long. And then you heard like a groan.
Yeah.
From the Autzen crowd. Like.
Gets in your head.
Yeah. And you're like, wait, the Autzen crowd even cares that he's, slightly. And again, I say this too. I love listening to Don Essig speak.
He's a man.
But
he's the best.
It was interesting to hear like the groan of like, you could kind of hear it. And I'm like, huh. And yeah, that one, it was a little bit of the turf monster, Justin. But I'm like, he probably just didn't call. I think Mateo's first sack of the season was when he sacked DJ, if I'm not mistaken. So that's
I think he got a couple in there. But either way, that was a moment, though.
Right. And it's like, yeah, like next year when Mateo's making some more sacks, I think Don will have it ready to go, Justin. But sorry, little.
Will he be saying another Uyunglele.
Will
he be?
why not?
I don't know.
Why not?
Brendan, will
distressed Beaver fan.
Will Don Essig be saying Uyunglele on offense next year? Because if the internet is right, and the internet never lied to me before, DJU enters the transfer portal. Let's talk about this. This was a pretty significant thing that happened yesterday. Of course, 8 minutes after we go off the air, news pops up. DJU gives the, hey, thanks for the memories, Beaver fans. Once a Beaver, always a Beaver. It's like, easy there, bro.
Justin's like, good
haven't
luck.
even been there a year.
Justin was like, good luck, Brendan. I'm like, I'm going to need it. And
Godspeed on your jersey.
Yeah, it was.
On your jersey. Anyways.
It was a day.
But this is the new reality of the transfer portal, right? This is it. This is the new reality. This is help me out, Nebraska head coach. Matt Rule. Thank you. Matt Rule came out, I think, a couple of days ago and essentially telling his boosters, hey, you guys want a quarterback in the transfer portal? Guy that's capable of being all conference, maybe capable of being all American. Like, you want Michael Penix, Bo Nix, and Caleb Wood, guess what? It's going to be about $2 million. Like, that's the go. He said kind of the quiet part out loud. We know in the NFL what the going rate is for a franchise quarterback. It's about $50 million, right? That's the marketplace. We know it in the NFL. It's been a part of life in the NFL. We don't know the marketplace of NIL deals for these players. Caleb Williams, we don't know how much NIL money he's making. I don't know how much money Bo Nix is making at Oregon. I've heard some numbers. I think some of them are maybe completely fabricated and pulled out of some people's hind parts, but I'm sure it's over $1 million. And Nike marketing and backing and all that stuff, I'm sure whatever DJU got to come to Oregon State wasn't for coupons to local boys, I'll tell you that. So
he was taken care of.
Yeah, he was taken care of. And this is the market. And now, what do we always say? It's not show friends, it's show business. And once you make this whole thing professional, in the NFL, I was very surprised. When I went from covering college football to covering the NFL. When it comes to business and money, guys are not jealous in the NFL. More money is more money. Rising tide lifts all the boats. Guys do not ever resent players for holding out for money. They take care of your contract, take care of your business, come back, boom, we're pros. And college isn't quite there yet, but it's getting there to where you have a guy like DJU who was brought in. He was a hired gun. Right?
When did that change, would you say, Justin? Because, and I only bring this up because very recently I caught Winning Time on HBO and saw how the Lakers treated Magic when he got that massive contract. So when do you think it changed to where everybody's like, hey, he gets paid, it's all good? Because there probably used to be some resentment.
When free agency became more in the norm, right? Free agency's been around since the 70s, but it's more of the norm of like, no, you can go out and
sure.
And the internet, like, it was in the paper, but like now it's just like you go on Spotrac and like, you know what I mean? It's like you can see all of them. But it's not that way in college. We don't know how much money these guys are making. But like DJU was compensated. He came in. He got Oregon State to 8 wins. Honest question, Brendan, you watch every Oregon State game sober. As opposed to the way I watch Oregon games. I'm just saying you do. Yeah, I can't say the same about me watching Oregon games.
That is a correct statement.
What's Oregon State's record if Aiden Childs is their quarterback this year?
6-6.
They're 6-6. Yeah. So it's like you don't. So it's like Oregon State got their top 20 ranking, got a bowl bid, which is going to give them some money, and they got relevancy for a good 2.5 months. For DJU to come to Oregon State. It was a business transaction. So can you really get all that upset? Now, the timing, not ideal. I got it. But can you really get all that upset when then the business transaction goes the other way and DJU goes, hey, thanks. I did what I needed to do. Now I'm out.
As long as he doesn't go to Michigan State, Beaver fans will be fine. Should he go to Michigan State, there will be some problems.
What if he goes 40 miles south?
You know, it's funny, Justin, because just to show, and again, BeaversEdge.com is not a representation of the entire fan base. But, Justin, just to show the pettiness that is going to exist, there were 5, 6, because when we dropped this news on the board yesterday and then it started to come down that Oregon and Florida State are the most popular spots, Justin, all 5 people who commented on this were like, if he goes to Oregon, at least he'll beat Smith.
Yeah.
So that is the level.
It's a lot of
like,
emotion.
it is. Even Anthony Gould, I mean, I don't think the player movement, like, Beaver fans are still peeved at Smith, man. That's going to be the one that's going to take some time to wear down. Like, Justin, they ain't going to be honoring the 2023 or 2022 Las Vegas Bowl team anytime in Corvallis. Let me put it that way. So
maybe the players, but who knows?
Not the coach.
All right, we're going to talk some more college football. John Gold's going to be joining the show. He's from Saturdays Out West. We'll talk about the Oregon-Washington game, preview the Pac-12 Championship. Is it win and get in for the Oregon Ducks? And is 10 points too much in this game? A lot to talk about with John next, 620 Rip City Radio. victorious. Confetti will fall. George Kliavkoff will hand over a trophy, and then at that point, Pac-12 football, as we have known it, will cease to exist. Is it a celebration of life? Is it a wake? Is it a funeral? Joining us now to talk about Pac-12, the future of West Coast football, and to preview the game that's going to be happening tonight in Las Vegas. Friend of the program, columnist for Saturday Out West, John Gold, back on the Big Show. Good morning, John. How we doing? I'm doing fantastic. It's, like I mentioned in the intro, weird time. Weird time because, obviously, Oregon is in the game tonight. There's so much on the line for both of these teams, including a potential spot in the college football playoff. But there's also this underlying thing. You wrote a column about it, about the ending of the Pac-12. We know it's ending. The schedules for next year in the ACC and the Big 12 and the Big 10 are out. But, John, it just doesn't feel quite real yet. It didn't feel real when I stayed up late last weekend and watched UCLA and Cal, almost like a masochist going like, oh, boy, is this it? We're going to squeeze the last little bit out of this conference. Doesn't feel real tonight. You wrote a terrific column on it. Is it set in yet that the Pac-12 is donezo after tonight? I'm the same way, and might as well just let's just get the anger out, because you and I think, are in both sides of this camp, and because everybody keeps telling me, Justin, think about the matchups. Think about all the matchups. And then I think of like, well, yeah, but if the new way of football was happening this week, Michigan and Ohio State would essentially be playing a rematch tomorrow. Oregon and Washington is going to be moving to the end of the year. We could see potentially an Oregon-Washington back-to-back games in that rivalry game, and then into the Big Ten Championship, and then maybe a third entity into the college football playoff. And I know I'm in the minority, and I'm also old man yelling at cloud, but the thing that I've also felt that makes the secret sauce that makes college football special is that the regular season games matter. That Michigan-Ohio State game last week mattered because Ohio State's done. They're getting ready for a bowl game. They don't know which one yet, but they're not going to the playoff, as opposed to, like you said, just making Saturdays more like, NFL light. Well, and kind of going to your point, John Gold from Saturday Out West joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. You know, there was this obviously big kind of land grab, right? Find a conference, find a home, which is what Oregon and Washington kind of got caught up in. Clearly, Cal and Stanford, like ACC, fine, we'll take it, whatever. revenue share, whatever. Just we'll take it. We just need to get on the bus and get out of the way. And to think that if this just happened, because this has been a 2-year process, really, that in another 2 to 3 years, you mentioned Rutgers. You don't think that Northwestern, and I know that's Chicago or Indiana or Purdue, can't get bounced out for a better option if this movement is happening, then you are as naive as I was a couple years ago when I thought this was never going to happen. I know people say, well, they should make it like promotion and relegation. Like, I think that's ultimately going to happen just based on ratings and relevance because, like you said, they're all going to want to conglomerate just to one power conference presented by, Amazon. All the games are on Prime, and then none of the teams that matter. And I just wonder if ultimately that trickle-down is going to recreate kind of like we're doing now with like streaming bundles, like you're recreating cable is what you're doing, is ultimately in 10, 15 years, are they going to recreate what college football was 5 years ago? John Gold, Saturday Out West, joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. All right, John, I feel like we got the anger out. You and I are on the same page on this. I think we could do this for another half an hour of time we have left in the show. I don't know if that'd be the best radio, but regardless, we're going to move on because there's a game to be played tonight. Oregon's favored by 10 in this game, which look, John, I'm an Oregon fan. I'm an Oregon homer. I don't like that number. That is a big number. That is a big bunch of points. Now, I realize that the point spread is not a prediction of the game. It is simply where the betting public kind of is. Are you surprised that the Oregon number in a game where they lost by 3 earlier this season and Washington, who has not looked great, but still they walk off the field victors in every game that they have played this year, how do you have a 12-0 number 3 team in the country, a 10-point dog in this game? Well, all right, speaking of dumb, because, John, look, you and I both love college football, and I love college football the way it was. I will continue to love college football the way it is going to be. But let's be honest, our sport's not perfect. We do some kooky stuff in this college football world, and one of those is creating a Power 5 and then a playoff of 4, right? That was a little weird when we decided, let's just do 4 when we've got Power 5, and let's just put a bunch of ADs and former coaches in a room, and based off of, we don't know, figure out who the 4 best teams are. So now we're going to do the biggest fool's errand of all, John, which is try to predict what the committee is thinking. Washington, clear cut. They win, they're in. Oregon has been the highest-ranked one-loss team since they have lost that game to Washington because of what you said. They have been not just competitively beating teams, but have been significantly beating teams. With all the scenarios that I've seen play out, do you see any way, shape, or form that if Oregon wins tonight, they get left out of the college football playoff? Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. John Gold, Saturday Out West, joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. You kind of talked about this earlier, about it's always kind of those teams. You can't quite figure out why is it always those teams. And then you brought up just PTSD for me, John, because, yeah, I was there at Autzen in 2012 when Oregon was ranked number 1. Zach Ertz was out of bounds. He was. It was 4th down. Zach Ertz was out of bounds. But I was there. I had to do the post-game show. That was a dark time. Yeah, it's always bleeping Stanford. As an Oregon fan, right? It's always bleeping Stanford. It was 2 years ago. Oregon beat Ohio State in the horseshoe, and they lose in overtime to Stanford. It was always Stanford. So, yeah, that was and I think you're right. I think Oregon in 2014 got up to number 2 with the Mariota run, and that was as high as that team got because, well, you had, I think Alabama was 1 for a good chunk of the year, and Florida State was in there too. So, yeah, it's a whole thing. Because when you look at this conference, and the knock on Oregon, right, is, well, they have 1 win this year against ranked opponents. Well, yeah, because they beat the tar out of the other ranked opponents so much that they aren't ranked anymore. John Gold, Saturday Out West, joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. A couple things before we let you go. Obviously, Oregon playing tonight. But, John, I don't know if you've paid attention on the X app. It's been a bit of a week for the people in Corvallis. It's been an eventful 7 days for the people in Corvallis, with Jonathan Smith leaving, finding a new coach, DJU entering the transfer portal, which isn't all that surprising, but given the fact that it was this week, Damian Martinez got arrested. It's been a bit of a 7 days, but here's my question to you, because looking ahead into the future, it's silly to try to predict anything, but I've always wondered for Oregon State, and maybe even for Washington State, sitting in this weird hybrid thing that they're in and hanging out for a couple of years with an agreement, a scheduled agreement with the Mountain West, do you think with the 12-team playoff that there could essentially be room for a Gonzaga of college football, right? Gonzaga plays in the West Coast Conference, but because of the tournament and the structure the way it is, they can still recruit nationally, they can schedule tough out of conference, and they can still make a Final Four. Is there a place in college football for maybe that particular model? Mm. John Gold, Saturday Out West. You can follow him on the X app, formerly known as Twitter, at by John Gold. No H in there, at by Jon Gold. And you want to make sure everybody gets to the right spot, because there could be a John with an H Gold, and who knows what that Twitter feed might look like. All right. Hey, John, thanks so much. Always appreciate the time. Maybe later on, we will bring you back on and we can continue to complain about the places college football is going while we are both obsessed with it and can't stop watching it because, we just don't know how to quit you, college football. Have a terrific weekend. We look forward to talking to you again soon. There we go. Done and done. Have a good weekend, John. All right, we have got the RCM mailbag to wrap up the big show next, 620 Rip City Radio.
It's time for the RCM mailbag. With any question, any topic, Justin can't duck the tough question. What do we have first?
All right, Justin, firing up the big mailbag here on a Friday, and happy to close out the week with you here, Justin. Let's see. Ooh, this would be a good one. Would you rather give up showering or internet for a month?
It's a good question. All right. Let me make a deal. Let's make a deal.
All right, Mark Cuban.
If you say give up internet, can I still stream?
You can watch television.
I can still watch TV. I just can't browse the internet. I can't Google anything.
Yes, correct. It is like
how long am I giving up showering?
It is like when you grew up, when you were down in Winston, Justin. You have more TVs. Imagine if you had, Max and Hulu and all that back then. You have all that, and you have old school like news, KGW, K2.
Yeah.
But you cannot Google. You cannot look up stats. You can't.
It would I wouldn't change this show at all because I just make up stats as I go along anyways. And people are
Fair
like,
enough.
Did you even look? Like, yeah, I thought it was another number. I still think I would give up the internet for a month. Let's go behind the scenes a little bit. I was very, very sick on Tuesday. Got a just massive stomach flu. It's that 24-hour one, but it comes on you like a sledgehammer. And, Brendan, I didn't shower for 2 days, and I felt disgusting. I felt like, but the idea of climbing out of bed and walking into a shower was also like, I think I might end up throwing up if I do that, so I can't move. But that was just 2 days. As opposed to a month? No, I'd give up the internet. I wouldn't like it. It would take some time. But I'd give up the internet. It'd be a very interesting show.
It would be.
Very interesting because if no social media. But obviously, so it'd just be what I saw on TV. And I could just kind of guess the stats. Which I kind of do anyways.
Yeah, for sure.
But, yeah, I think I would give up the internet.
No,
as opposed to giving up showering. That would be so disgusting.
Yeah, no, wouldn't it?
So terrible.
It'd be horrible. But again...
Could I jump in a pool or something?
I'll say this. No cheating, Justin, in this particular case. But I'll say this. Going back to more ancient days, Justin, humans lived a long time when they didn't have to clean themselves.
Yeah, I bet it stunk.
Oh, it was horrible.
I bet it stunk.
Horrible. But they've proven they can live.
I love movies about the Old West. I love the Old West. Movies about it.
Yeah.
The idea of living in the Old West, I bet it stunk to high heaven.
Oh.
I could only imagine the stench between horse poop and people.
How about human poop? No sewers.
I didn't want to.
There's no sewers.
I didn't want to get that in depth.
Well,
yes, and you're right.
Hey, that was still the G-rated word to use, Justin.
Very true.
So
outhouses were a thing.
That's true.
But it sat there.
No
I was just dig a hole.
Yeah, no organized sewage.
And the other thing is again, I love the Old West, but hey, we're in Tombstone, Arizona. It's I know Tombstone, Arizona is about 108 degrees. And you're wearing a leather jacket. All those cowboys, they're just what's Wyatt Earp doing wearing a trench coat in Tombstone, Arizona?
Yeah. No,
now, I probably, just for the movie, I don't care. As far as I'm concerned, the movie Tombstone might as well be a documentary because I believe it is fact.
Okay. So
it's why are these dudes wearing trench coats
yes.
in Tombstone, Arizona?
That's great.
Hop, skip, and a jump for the Mexican border, and they're wearing trench coats.
I totally agree with you. I'm going to ask you this, Justin. Do you think that what would be the worst smell? Okay, what you just described, or go back a little further in history, someone who just got off the Mayflower.
Yeah.
Ships that would go from Europe to America.
Yeah.
I still think that's probably the worst, and it was probably foul.